It's you, at last.
Aha! So it is the same guy from before! What's your problem, huh? What could you possibly have against Kazuha?
Indeed, there should be no enmity between us, if it is Ame-no-Me Yuya that stands before us. But what if instead of facing Ame-no-Me Yuya, we are in fact facing the blade in his hand?
Now that you mention it, it is giving off a strange light. Whoa! Surely you don't mean...
Tatarigami energy often lodges itself within physical objects. Then the blade has resided in Mr. Nagato's warehouse for many years, affecting his state of mind, and more recently using the sale as a means to affect, or rather as a means to occupy, Ame-no-Me Yuya's body.
You're sharper than I thought. You've already deduced the truth of the matter. Many, many years ago, I was forged by a famed bladesmith of the Isshin tradition. I was his pride and joy. In me, he placed all his hopes and dreams. As a descendant of the Kaedehara clan, you should be able to guess our greatest regret.
I presume it has something to do with the Raiden Gokaden.
Indeed. At that point in time, he failed to live up to the Raiden Shogun's expectations. In the end, all he could do was to flee the nation by sea on a ship bound for Snezhnaya. He was a bladesmith of great renown, a master of his craft. There was nothing that he could not accomplish. All he needed was more time and a little faith. And sure enough, in the end, he achieved what he had set out to do. All of his life's work, his wisdom, his skill, it culminated in his creation of me. He not only bestowed upon me the greatest of strength, but also endowed me with a consciousness of my own. In her conceit, the Raiden Shogun lost not only the single most perfect blade in the entire world, but also an irreplaceable achievement in the art of blade forging.
So... swords can become conscious and control people?
The people of the time in which I was born never believed I had that kind of power. They saw me as a mere blade, a sharp and well-crafted one, but in all other respects an ordinary weapon. But that gave me the opportunity to take action. After the death of my creator, I decided to leave Snezhnaya and began my long quest to return to the distant land of Inazuma. Moving from one person to the next, I controlled the minds of countless hosts along the way, each bringing me one step closer to my ancestral home. I seek but one thing: to face the full force of the Raiden Shogun's blade and prove my power, the might of Isshin art!
So Ame-no-Me Yuya was not your first victim. Tell me, what happens to those you've possessed when you've finished using them?
My hosts? Who cares what happens to them? They are but tools that serve my mission. When they got tired, or injured, or unusable, I hopped to the next one in line. All I needed them for was to take me back to Inazuma.
You're awful!
After I returned to Inazuma, I decided to bide my time in Nagato's warehouse until Ame-no-Me Yuya handed himself over to me on a silver platter. At long last, I'm approaching my journey's destination. By Ame-no-Me Yuya's body I have found you, and by your hand I shall defeat the Raiden Shogun! Kaedehara Kazuha, you stood against the Raiden Shogun's Muso no Hitotachi. There can be no other to serve as my host for what is to come. Now, give your body over to me!
Not now. I'll protect us.
Wind Strider! K- k- Behold! Ka! Ja! That's far enough! Surge forth! Ha! Ka! Yeah! Ja! Ah! How amusing! Cry louder!
Let's dance. The night is cold. Stars, shine for me.
Ch! Sh! S! Ch! Ch! Cha! P! Sh! Clouds hide. The birds call. Sh! Sh! S! P!
Do not stand in my way, or I will strike you down too!
Your bluff's fooling no one. You've lost.
Lost? I can never lose. It is this body that has reached its limit, nothing more. Even if you defeat me here, the one who falls will not be me, but this man. He is but a puppet that can be replaced. The end result is the same. I will end this wretch's life before you can lift a finger. And even if I were to lose my physical form, it is but a small setback. My consciousness shall endure. By any means necessary, and any medium available, I shall return and fulfill my destiny!
Your fighting style. It is indeed the forms of Ishin art. But from your movements, I sense only hatred and arrogance, as well as a thinly veiled mania and despair.
Really? You can tell all that just from his moves?
As I've mentioned before, the forms of Ishin art convey the user's thoughts and feelings. Since the blade is currently possessing Aminome Yuya's body, its movements express the innermost thoughts of the blade. If you ask me, the mania is probably due to your desperate, single-minded ambition. You believe I am your only hope.
Are you trying to claim that I am helpless without you? On his deathbed, he passed to me all of Ishin art's secrets. The little that you know barely scratches the surface. In that regard, why would I ever need your help?
Because all of that is in the past. I've been wondering why you've not caused more trouble in all the years that you've been in Inazuma, if you are indeed a cursed blade that can possess its owner. Now that I've seen inside your mind, everything finally makes sense. You weren't biding your time. You were trapped. After all the time that's passed, you have grown weak, to the point that you are now unable to acquire a new host without making physical contact.
Oh, that's right. Paimon remembers now. Mr. Nagato had a habit of never touching his collectibles.
Only when Mr. Nagato witnessed his wife's distress and decided to sell his collectibles did you finally have an opportunity to reach out to Aminome Yuya and make your escape.
And what of it?
Well, that brings me to my second point. There's a despair in you that is so strong it threatens to overwhelm you. You were determined to fulfill your maker's ambition, whatever the cost. But this ambition is too grand and too heavy for you to bear. Each step you have taken has come at a great cost. I think you realized your limitations long ago. The more you clenched your teeth and pressed forward, the greater your fear of losing everything you had achieved grew, and the more you wished to run from the truth. But the way I see it, what began as an ambition has long since become a delusional fantasy.
What would you know about any of this? I'm just one step away from achieving my goal!
You returned to Inazuma to prove the unparalleled brilliance of Ishin art. But to make this arduous journey, you committed countless atrocities and showed a blatant disregard for human life. Even if you were to sever that divine light, is this truly the outcome that your maker would have desired?
You...
Sure, you inherited the secrets of Ishin art. But even as you made your journey to honor this legacy, you treated the ones who wielded you as mere tools to do your bidding. How could you possibly unleash the full potential of Ishin art when you act in perfect discordance with the principle of harmony between a blade and its bearer?
Silence, you blabbering fool! I must achieve my goal. This was his life's dream, and the very purpose for which I was brought into being. I will concede that you are most perceptive. You see my predicament clearly. But you also underestimate my resolve.
And you should face reality.
Easy for you to say. Facing reality offers me nothing. I have no need of anything that would stand in my way. Not hesitation, not self-reflection, and certainly not your so-called reality. It is pointless to argue further, descendant of the Kaedahara clan. If you wish to save this man, then offer me your body in exchange.
How stubbornly you stick to your wayward path. I do not believe for a second that you can challenge the almighty Shogun in your current state. So let us make a bet, and I will put your strength to the test.
What? Surely you're not planning to agree to his demands.
Very well. Then find yourself some enemies with whom you wish to cross blades. A taste of my power will more than convince you. Once we have dealt with them, we shall proceed to Tenshukaku.
And as for your end of the bargain, if you lose, you must release Amenoma Yuya from your control.
I accept.
Don't do this, Kazuha!
This is the only way to save Amenoma Yuya. If we don't do this, he'll forever be the Blade's puppet. The cursed Blade's strength is currently very weak, and I sense he's hesitating. This suggests his heart is still not completely devoid of honor. The power of the Tatarigami lies in intensifying existing obsessions. This is the reason Mr. Nagato...
But even so...
Even if things take a turn for the worse, I still have you both here with me. We have a chance here to save an innocent victim.
Your disdain for me betrays your woeful ignorance. I agreed to this bet because there are things I wish to learn too. Now, take me in your hand.
Kazuha?
I'm okay. I felt a little dizzy at first, but only for a moment. It's all right. So far, this was as I expected. I will.
What should we do next? Have you got a plan, Kazuha?
We find some enemies. Although this blade has endured much turmoil, it probably hasn't experienced many real fights. If a blade built for Ishin art cannot enter a state of harmony between blade and bearer, it cannot unleash its true power. If he wants to avoid reality, then we need to fight until he has no choice but to face it.
Wait a minute! Paimon remembers hearing about something since the Takasukasa clan abandoned that secret base.
All right.
What about Amenoma Yuya?
The blade says he'll let Amenoma Yuya trail us silently.
Are we sure this is a good idea? Okay, fine.
the wind rises.
Leave everything on this journey to me.
Into the wind. Sha! Ch! Ka! Ka! So! Ka! Wind Strider! Ka! Ch! Ka! Ch! The wind knows me. Ch! Ka! As one with wind and cloud. Ba! Ch! Sha! Ch! Ka! Ba! Ch! Ch! Ka! 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 So! Ka! Ch!
How are you feeling?
I'm all right. The blade is performing largely as I expected. Having gone so long without proper use and maintenance, it's become very difficult to use. Though he's making every effort to persevere, I do not think he can last much longer.
Something else on your mind?
How strange. Rather than trying to control me, he is instead trying to match my fighting rhythm. Let's keep going.
One with nature. Ch! Sha! Ch! Sh! That hurt! Wind Strider! Ah! Ba! Cha! Cha! Clouds hide. The birds call. Ha! So! Cha! Ka! Wind Strider!
Whoa! Something's up with the blade!
I can sense that his strength is slowly fading away. He cannot hold out much longer.
But what would that do to...
I will be careful with it. He's still...
Time to go. Ka!
Look out! Ambush!
Ch! Ch! Sha! Ka! Wind Strider! Ch! Ch! Ka! Ba! Ch! Sha! Sha! Ka! Ka! Wind Strider! Ka! Sh! Ka! Oh! Ch! Sha! Ba! Fallen leaves, adorn my night! Into the wind! So! Ka! Ka! Sh!
Are you okay? It looked like you were really struggling the entire fight!
Yes. And it looks like he's reached his limit.
The sheen's grown a bit dimmer again. It doesn't look
Perhaps this time we'll finally have a chance to see his true form.
true form. What are you talking about? Is this the same blade as before?
If you choose to continue in the state you're in, you wouldn't even be able to beat Sam. Maybe you did truly wield power to rival the Shogun's light when first forged. It barely needs stating anymore. Your ambition is... I've finally figured out why it was that you agreed to my bet. You wanted to reach a state of harmony with me. For perhaps, but regrettably we are not. The only one who truly understood you had already passed away by the time you were born.
Huh? What's that supposed to mean?
There they are! Take them down!
Where do they keep coming from? Yup, we can help.
Don't worry. I'll use my own blade. It's just...
Time to go. Ch, ch, ha, ch. It's fine. Wind Strider. Ch, 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 ha. Ch, ch. So, time to go. As one with wind and cloud. Ch.
You fought way better.
You are a true Kaedehara in flesh and in spirit. Though we fought briefly together, you have seen me for who I really am. No one knew anything of my story throughout my travels, nor did I tell it to anyone. You are the first person to know the truth. I thought that if I could achieve Ishin harmony with you, perhaps there would still be a ray of hope for me.
But in this too you have failed.
Indeed. No matter how hard I tried, I could not attain that perfect harmony that your personal blade does with you. Too much time has passed. My physical state is poor, and without proper maintenance, I can only... Yours is the blade that took on the Muso no Hitotachi.
Actually, this is just a generic blade that I picked up during my travels in Liyue.
What?
Forging and maintenance are both important for a blade, but they are not everything. This blade has traveled the land with me for many years, and we have formed a close bond during that time. Skill, blade, determination, and desire. All these must be aligned in the practice of Ishin art. There is something else I must tell you. Tatarigami is a malevolent. Though you tried to cooperate with me while I was wielding you, the part of you driven by...
I sensed it, but I couldn't change it. It is an integral...
I resisted its temptations because I wanted to save Amenoma Yuya. But I feel a great sense of regret for you. Since you embarked on the moment you embarked on this journey, you lost the only person who could... You have known this for a long time. It is...
He gave me everything. My life, my form, my consciousness, and purpose. How could I possibly deny him his wish? I said to him, "Do not worry, from here on I shall forge your legacy." How could I go back on my word?
Aww.
I believe our bet is now settled. I have nothing further to say.
Where are you going, Kazuha?
He now has neither the ability nor the motivation to cause further harm. When I touched the hilt for the first time, a bladesmith lay quietly on the bed. His frail face, a newly forged blade lay by his side.
Wow. That was the...
Indeed. While in exile in Snezhnaya, the bladesmith he spent the rest of his life in the forge. Not to vent his frustration. He felt intense regret at being tricked by the Fatui, but he could never again return to... So he instructed this sentient blade to find a way back to Inazuma. All he wanted to show was that they once shone brilliantly as blade...
So that's the true story. But after that, the blacksmith's intentions...
Right. I believe the bladesmith might never have known that the power he worked with would... This blade has committed unforgivable atrocities. But
Shame it's...
Yes. Time would not wait or stop because of his determination. While the world moved on, he seems to have calmed down, though.
When I look back at the past, I once told him that I would pay any price to fulfill his wishes, but darkness and slaughter numb the mind. Not only did I fail to fulfill his ambition, I also...
You are finally seeing reality clearly.
Since we agreed to the terms of the bet, I will honor, but I still cannot bring myself to forsake his ambition. So, may I ask you to help me fulfill the ambitions of my...
Hey! Now you're adding yours into the mix, too?
It has to be done in this order. At least hear what I have to say. My physical form, as well as the knowledge I possess...
His attitude has grown a lot. What do you think, Kazuha? Should we...
Let's hear it.
Thank you all. When I was first forged, alas, after that, nor have I ever had the chance. My fights were devoid of any noble meaning. They were merely the neck. You are a fine warrior.
Oh? And who would be the opponent?
I will release Ame no Mayuya and restore his consciousness. You must have plenty of reasons to both hate me.
Understood. Then let's start by waking him.
I see. He used my body to inflict harm on others. I utterly despise him and his actions. If a duel can help to set this state of affairs in order, I do not wish to be a mere victim.
There's no need to worry. We'll vouch for your innocence.
Thanks for your help. Who knows how this would have ended without your intervention?
All right, then let's move on. More Ronin could appear at any moment. We can't stay here. In any case, for a final...